Back in February, the first tournament of the year was perfect. Beach volleyball under a blue-gray sky in Honolulu, Hawaii. The stars were out. On one side, the kings of the beach, Smith and Stoklos. On the other side, the temporary tandem of Kent Steffes and Adam Johnson. The finish was a photo. Which would it be, eternal life or sudden death?
Johnson and Steffes have to put this ball down or it's over. Steffes. Sudden death! Coming up! We are tied as time runs out.
And death in the afternoon came very quickly for the temporary tandem. The Kings were hot. Smith was digging. It was written. Sudden death, administered by Smith and Stoklos, who were once again kings for a day. Last week a rainout. What will happen today as Prime Network presents Men's Pro Beach Volleyball. Today, it's the Miller Lite Fort Myers Open. We welcome you to Fort Myers, Florida on the Gulf of Mexico. We're 150 miles west of Miami, and what a spot. 80-degree water year-round. We have white sand beaches and a big crowd, and most importantly, sunshine. Hello again, everybody, and welcome. I'm Chris Marlowe. Last week in Pensacola, Florida, the weather, in a word, was yucky. However, we did predict that the weather this week would be perfect, and it is. A $75,000 tournament, perfect weather for the pros as they dash for cash. Happy to have working with me once again Paul Sunderland. This week he is the birthday boy, and I say congratulations.
Trying to keep that a secret.
A young, gorgeous woman sent you 12 of these.
All right. Thank you very much. I've got to point out that that young, gorgeous woman is, of course, my wife.
That's what he says.
Very nice of her to send these to me to Fort Myers, Florida, all the way from Los Angeles. But I got a question for you. Where are the other 11?
The other 11 are in the beach bag. We'll get to them at the half.
Right. I've
Let's
heard
talk
that
about
before.
beach volleyball. Everybody asks me, when are Karch Karai and Steve Timmons coming back? Tell us.
Well, not for about a week or 10 days. Luckily for them, they continue to have great success over in the Italian professional leagues, and their club Il Masagero is in the finals once again. Now, Steve Timmons is going to go straight down to San Diego and train for the 1992 Olympics. Karch Karai, we don't know if he's going to go for his third gold medal or come out here, team with Kent Steffes, and try to do his thing out on the Pro Beach Tour. Ricky Luty's, Adam Johnson's partner of last year, had an unfortunate accident, also playing professionally in Europe, in France, sprained his wrist, is in a cast for 4 to 6 weeks, and that really jumbles things up out on the tour. And Scott Akatubby, unfortunately, is missing his second week in a row out on the tour. He's been sick. He's got a viral infection they really can't find the cause of or a cure for. We wish him a speedy recovery and all the rest, all the best. And in his absence, his partner Brent Frohoff, team with Mike Whitmarsh, they played very well. Whitmarsh blocking well, Brent Frohoff jump serving. They finished 4th and were eliminated by Pat Powers and Brian Lewis, and we'll see more of them as the tournament goes on.
Okay, speaking of the tournament going on, let's update you on some of the other teams. Been a lot of close finishes, a lot of very tight matches.
Well, Eric Wirtz and Larry Muir had a great tournament. In the quarterfinals, they almost beat Smith and Stoklos. They were up 14-12, however, did lose. They were 9th seed, ended up finishing 7th. They played extremely well. John Hanley and Dan Vrabolovich, a team I'm going to watch all summer. Dan Vrabolovich coming back out onto the beach after a long rehabilitation of a knee injury. They were seeded down in 10th, but finished 5th. That's a great finish for them. Now, we've given you the good news, and we've told you who's not here. Now let's talk about the Tidy Bowl Team of the Week. Our 8th seed, Brooke Vanderway and Andrew Smith, they did not play at all well. They finished down in 17th. So with every good thing, a little rose, a little birthday, comes some bad news.
Unbelievable money on tour this year, nearly $3 million. Each tournament at least $75 grand, and the Miller Lite Grand Prix is really going to augment those figures.
Well, we're only 2 weeks into the season, so let's first of all see what the big money payout is going to be at the end of the year. For first place, $75,000. Second place, $38,630. $30,000. Third place, just over $31,000. You can see fourth and fifth place money, and that's in addition to the money they win each and every week. Now, the leaders so far this year, who else? St. John Smith, Randy Stoklos, 13.8 points. Kent Steffes, Adam Johnson, Tim Hovland, Mike Dodd, and then 5 players tied down in 7th place. So all kinds of money once again being paid out on the beach.
All right, we should tell you the winner of the winners bracket, cooling off right now, St. John Smith and Randy Stoklos. But stay with us. We've got a great semifinal for you. Kent Steffes and Adam Johnson, Pat Powers and Brian Lewis after this. Looks like a fun beach ball. Where was it yesterday when we were down here?
I don't know. Everybody having a good time. Fort Myers, a beautiful spot.
6-4 is our score. Lewis and Powers ahead by 2. Lewis and Powers did lead 6-2. But Steffes and Johnson have come back. Winner to meet St. John Smith and Randy Stoklos. Johnson has the serve.
Adam Johnson got a serve tough. Most improved player indeed. Played great defense. Was able to side out against everybody last year. We'll see what happens when Ricky Ludes is able to come back. If and when Karch Kirai comes back to the beach and plays with Kent Steffes. A lot of questions to be answered in the next 3 to 6 weeks.
Here we go. Lewis on the attack. And a beautiful cut shot by Brian Lewis on the right side.
I think Lewis and Powers right at the end of their rope physically. Again, playing so many games the last couple of days. Cut shot here. Brian Lewis still slicing it off, but AJ still with some fresh legs, almost able to track it down.
17th. Currently 32nd at the start of 1991 and playing much, much better than that ranking here today. Lewis has been the story as AJ sets equipment-wise.
Rules a little bit different this year. In the past, you had 4 sand timeouts up to 20 seconds. No sand timeouts this year. It's entirely up to the referee or umpire's discretion. Do you need to towel off or do you not?
Steffes taps it off. Powers out of bounds. Side out.
The block by Kent Steffes. Good for a side out.
I have to tell you, I think 4 timeouts is too many.
Yeah, it's way too many.
I think
4 30-second timeouts for each team, and they're more than 30 seconds.
And plus, you get the side change, the 3-2,
it's way too many stoppages.
5-5, the
too many.
8-7, and the 10-10. So there's 4 more 2-minute timeouts that they get. Lewis blasts it. Was it touched? Yes, says Marvin Hall.
Off the top of Kent Steffes. I think because of the side changes that come at multiples of 5 points to accommodate for sun and wind conditions, I think each team should be allowed 2 timeouts. That's it. 4 each is way too many.
6-4. Powers and Lewis ahead by 2. Powers to serve. Right on the line, side out.
Kent Steffes and Adam Johnson were not siding out well at the beginning of this game. Kent Steffes spraying the ball all over the place in his serve receiving, but has steadied out quite a bit. This ball just catching the rope.
I don't know.
Boy, some anemic serving from both teams. The jumper's not working. Now even the lollipops are getting licked out of bounds.
Well, the wind conditions here really are not a factor. A very, very light breeze, and when you add to that, the pack stands and everything, that's not going to affect this kind of serving. These are players that, as Brian Lewis adds to the negative side of this match, these teams much better servers generally. What they're trying to do, Chris, is serve Brian Lewis short. Make the small player come forward, take away some of his long approach to make up for his lack of height. He needs a long approach. They're trying to serve him short, but just making a lot of mistakes. Short serve once again.
Johnson, chance for the point. No. Johnson into the net. Couldn't transition that time.
Terrible set in transition by Kent Steffes. Adam Johnson all over the little rainbow shot down the line from Brian Lewis, and Kent Steffes not making the play. And now, as you can see, he deserves a sand timeout.
The U.S. champion last year with Ricky Ludes. What a thrilling finish that was, outlasting St. John Smith and Randy Stoklos at Hermosa Beach as time ran out. Once again, we're not mentioning the rally clock much today because the Pro Tour has decided to implement the 10-minute rally clock, which really doesn't affect play too much. I'm wondering about that. You people out that are watching the shows, that watch Honolulu, what do you think of the clock?
Well, when you write us on the mailbag, please let us know your opinions of what you think about the clock at all, the 10-minute clock, 8-minute clock, etc. We'd love to hear what you think.
And cross-court, Steffes pops it in there.
By Kent Steffes, good for a side out.
If you're wondering why they went from the 8-minute clock to the 10-minute clock, just to finish up a story, is that according to the players don't like the clock. According to the players, they don't like the clock. They don't want it to come into play. But my theory is that the clock makes it more exciting, at least for the television viewer, and makes it more drama-filled. Well, we do have the clock today. We'll see if it affects play. 10 minutes is the starting time, and now we have 4 minutes and 51 seconds. Well, maybe it'll come into play in this one.
It might. Points have been very hard to come by. I think all of these players are tired. It's hard to chase defensively, get up and block, and Pat Power is still using his reach. A very short approach. It's easy for him to take that short serve and get into a good glide path to put the ball away, this time high cross court.
Here comes Louis. And into the net. So Lewis and Powers get a break and another point. 8-4.
Ball short into the net.
Just when I thought Kent Steffes was starting to steady out after a very rocky start, he comes through with a cut shot into the bottom of the tape.
Lewis only been playing volleyball for 5 years. His father, Brian Sr., produced the first film ever made on the sport of beach volleyball. It was called A Day at the Beach. Catchy title. A Day at the Beach.
Shot by Kent Steffes inside the block of
Father was a good volleyball player.
Side out. Kent Steffes, the server.
And Steffes will serve. His team trailing by 4. 8-4. Lewis and Powers here in our semifinal. Powers going to get a spiking opportunity. Doug. Oh, and the put away. Point for Steffes and Johnson.
Smart for Kent Steffes to shoot against Pat Powers, much bigger, not as mobile as Brian Lewis. When you're in transition, the ball's coming over the top of your head. You have to remember who you want to get the ball to. Adam Johnson getting to this ball pretty early. Kent Steffes thinking right now, who am I going to shoot? Little Brian Lewis or big Pat Powers? And he scores off Pat Powers.
All right, let's go, guys.
8-5 as all players take the sand stoppage for a moment. The sand here is very white and very light and very sticky. Once you go into the sand, you come out looking like
the grains of sand are about the same size as the pores in your body. It'd take about 2 weeks of showers to get it all off you. Beautiful, but it's sticky.
Kent Steffes to serve. Trailing by 3. And Lewis off the net, hits it out of bounds. Tiring weekend for Brian Lewis, farther than he's ever been.
If you're 6'1", you need to pass the ball well, which he's been doing all tournament long, but you've got to have the good set every time. Very difficult to put the ball away otherwise.
And Powers tries to sneak it over, and it doesn't work. So Powers and Lewis have been ahead the entire game so far, but now the lead is only 1.
Now trail by 1, 8-7.
We're back. When we left you, Powers and Lewis were winning 8-7. We now pick up action later in the semifinal. Johnson and Steffes have taken the lead at 13-12. Couple of men in 17th place, John Edo and Bill Bullion, a fine team, did not play well this weekend. Jeff Rogers and John Breivik, 17th place. They should play a little better. Leif Hansen and Wes Welch also in 17th.
That's a team I think will do better as the season
I think all 3 teams will.
Yeah, I think all 3 of these teams, but I like Wes Welch and Leif Hansen.
Once again, in between timeouts, rewrapping Kent Steffes' calf. You said you saw bandages on it yesterday, Paul.
Well, he had cuts on both calves. He likes to mountain bike a lot. I don't know if he took a spill, but in just out here going after a ball, he's reopened the cut on his left shin. And with this sand texture, you certainly don't want to leave it exposed.
Minute 7 to go. 13-12, Johnson and Steffes.
Play resumes now after our side change.
I think Lewis and Powers are on the better side now. I don't know. It hasn't been much of a factor. But just looking at the flags just a bit, the breeze going a little towards Lewis and Powers.
Yeah, but only marginally. Yeah. Only marginally is that the better side today.
So Kent Steffes, who has stepped up his game here, goes to Lewis. And Lewis does not convert down the line. Another point.
2 hitting errors back to back. Again, we talked about how tired Brian Lewis and Pat Powers must be, and you make unforced errors when you're fatigued.
Brian Lewis asking Marvin Hall, do I have another timeout left? And Marvin Hall saying yes. And so Lewis and Powers take time out. Steffes and Johnson have game point, so they're going to wearily go over to the bench. And Steffes and Johnson saying, well, what do you want to do about Smith and Stoklos? They played again against each other earlier, and Steffes and Johnson were destroyed.
Trounced, absolutely destroyed. But I think the reason for that is because they had a war with Hovland and Dodd that really, really wore them down. 13th place finishers, Sean Davis and Eric Boyles. We've seen Leif Hansen and Wes Welch already. They finished in 17th.
Good looking guys. Now game point for Steffes and Johnson. Steffes has it. Could be it. Steffes got it! Steffes and Johnson come back, trailing 6-2 and 8-4. They advance to the final.
Give a lot of credit to Brian Lewis and Pat Powers coming all the way back from the quarterfinals. They finished third. Congratulations to Brian Lewis with his career-high finish. I just wonder if Adam Johnson and Kent Steffes might have won, but cut their own throats for the finals. Will they be too tired?
A magnificent finish for Brian Lewis and Pat Powers. They get third. And Johnson and Steffes set to move on.